we just have to wait and see if it works. If the president is right, this could all turn out great. If he's not wrong, then who knows what's going to happen. I think his aides have kind of resigned to where we are right now.
If you look at these headlines from around the country, this is any president's dream. I know there are a lot of people watching who didn't vote for the president. He's the president. And you can say, oh, this all started under Obama. Okay, that's fine. But the economy has kicked into a higher gear because of the tax cuts, because of the Trump deregulation. Look at these headlines around the country. But the president could just breathe that in, and he did take credit this week. But you could just take the victory lap and not do anything to mess with that, or you can try to do what this is the issue on which he has been most consistent.
Well, look, there is a playbook for taking a amazingly good economy and turning that into electoral success with an election just in a few months. The question is, will he follow it, right? You know, if the message discipline that he and the Republican Party have to, you know, counter and blunt the Democratic wave that could be coming, you need to stay focused on that topic. And the trade war is one of those things that could, you know, challenge that discipline, but there are a million other things, as we've seen, that this president could end up diverting himself and the Republican Party from that discipline message, and that won't help them at the ballot box.
And you have conservative free market politicians like Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska say, Mr. President, what are you doing? He says, when you have tariffs, they're a bad thing. You try to solve them with bailouts, another bad thing. You're not heading into a good direction. You're trying to make America 1929 again. That's not what the people in the state I represent want. We want to feed the world. We want more markets. We want more trade. That's Ben Sasse, conservative senator from Nebraska. What has been remarkable is to listen to most of the farmers I have, either reading the newspapers, watching CNN, this is from NPR. Most of the farmers, they don't like this. They're worried about it. But a lot of them voted for the president, and they're kind of like, okay, Mr. President, we'll give you some time here, but remember, we can't afford 2 or 3 years. If this stretches out too long, we'll be underwater.
I think there's still overwhelming support for the president because of his intent. What we're really afraid of is slipping into a long-term situation here. We'd still like to see, in my personal opinion, and I think most farmers I've talked to, at least here in Wisconsin, we want trade, not aid.
We don't give common sense, hardworking Americans enough credit in the sense that, you know, they're like, okay, Mr. You're the president, but.
Right. Well, and there is some patience for him doing things differently because that's why people voted for him, right? But this scenario where you bail out farmers because you're hurting farmers is like a little heavy-handed even for like an Ayn Rand novel on central government stupidity. It is like, she would have said pass. But like, look, the top line numbers are so good, it's almost impossible to rain on that parade, except by, I don't know, like an executive-driven trade war. And that is what he's pushing. Now, I think when you see the EU sort of detente, they would argue, look, we're moving toward freer trade because they want to take off tariffs. But if you read that agreement that they came to, again, very vague. Right. It leaves out auto stuff, and it almost as an afterthought puts in the fact that maybe we'll get rid of these retaliatory tariffs as well. So you're getting taxed on both ends, and regardless of whether it hits before the midterm, it does make long-term planning for businesses extremely tough.
Right, and that's the key point. The businesses say, how do we plan 2, 3, 4 years down the line in the middle of all this? The politicians, the Republicans say, there's an election in 100 days. We're going to get more to that in a minute. The president thinks, this is why a lot of Republicans think he doesn't understand he's the leader of the party. He thinks by 2020 we'll be out of this tunnel and he'll be okay. The question is he right? Next, as I just noted, Michael made note, 100 days and counting. Despite that strong economy, our brand new CNN rankings lean more races blue. Control of the House, wait till you see the numbers about their odds of taking the big prize. Control of the House of Representatives. The campaign trail in a second. First, the current state of play. Remember, Republicans have the majority right now, 235 seats. You see the red filling in on the floor of the House. The Democrats are at 193 today. That's the state of play in Washington. But look at these new rankings releasing this hour again out on the campaign trail. Republicans from 235 down to 158 solid seats for the GOP. 29 likelies, 18 leans. You see these toss-ups, that's the yellow in the middle. For the Democrats, improving numbers, 182 solid, 9 likely, and 12 leaning Democratic seats right now. So, can the Democrats get to the majority? Well, let me give you a dream scenario. Again, this is a dream scenario. But if the Democrats keep all the likelies, win all the leans, and sweep these toss-ups, look at the numbers. That would give them 230 seats, more than enough to be in the majority. Now, that's a dream scenario. Elections never play out exactly as you wish, but it does show you the math is within their reach. Why are they so optimistic? Take a closer look at these toss-up races. 27 in all. They're in the yellow. See that red? 25 of the 27 of these seats are currently held by Republicans. 25 of the 27 toss-ups are currently Republican seats. That's why the Democrats are so optimistic. Only 2 of those yellow seats are blue, Democratic seats. So Democrats optimistic, even more so now at that 100-day mark. Another reason they're so optimistic is the then and now. Let's go back to the beginning of the year. Republicans were still in danger then, but the numbers were better. 177 solid Republican seats back in January, only 158 now. More and more races have moved from the dark red into the lighter red and the pink to the yellow, sliding over toward the blue. The Democrats, 176 solid seats in our beginning of the year rankings. You see 182 now. You see the likelies. You see the leans. You see the toss-ups. The climate for the Democrats even better at the 100-day mark than it was at the beginning of the year, which is why their current leader, Nancy Pelosi, sounds so optimistic.
The contrast between House Republicans and Democrats could not be clearer. At every turn, House Republicans are selling out the American people to put themselves and their special interest donors first.
100 days to go. The significant part of those new rankings, again, you look at where we were in January, where we are now. 12 races since we last did this a couple months ago. 12 more races moving toward the Democrats, which is the great tug of war in American politics. We just talked about this booming economy, something the president and his party should be able to sell to the American people. But then you have the first, the traditional midterm dynamics. The president's party almost always loses in the first midterm. And dynamic number 2, in much of the country, including the places where you have those toss-up races, where you have those soft Republican seats, the president's toxic.
Well, and so, a couple things. One, I think that's reflective of what I was hearing from House Republicans before they left for the congressional recess. They've had a bit of a roller coaster, mainly based on how the generic D-Verzard poll has been bouncing around, where they had a couple of weeks where they felt good. They thought they were getting into a better place. They've been seriously focused on the economy. That has shifted as they were leaving town. People are now feeling not great about what they're coming home to. And I'll say this, one of the most interesting things that I think everybody's keeping an eye on right now is Ohio 12. It's a Columbus special election that's going on right now. And one of the monster super PACs in the game, aligned with Paul Ryan Congressional Leadership Fund, just recently put out a new advertisement that was focused entirely on illegal immigration and Nancy Pelosi. This is a place from, while it stretches into Licking County, it's some rural areas, it's also the suburbs of Columbus. These are the types of people that the econ message should absolutely play with. This is a place that Trump won this district by 11 points in 2016, and they have shifted focus, not unlike what they did in the Virginia governor's race, into illegal immigration, trying to turn out base, trying to hit the rural area numbers in Licking County. That, while I don't know what numbers they're looking at, that doesn't seem to be a great thing for me, and kind of underscores what we're seeing right now with the map.
I want to highlight one particular race, the Virginia 7, which is Dave Bratt's district.
Right.
This is the old Eric Cantor seat.
It was a bellwether when Bratt won it. Right?
It was a bellwether when Bratt won it. It was one of those Tea Party sort of wave seats. I've covering Virginia for a long time. That's been a Republican seat. That was not something that the Republican Party thought they had to worry about. The rankings here have moved that into the toss-up category. I mean, if that's a toss-up seat for Republicans that they have to worry about, that's the canary in the coal mine, that they have problems that they need to address, and that's what that meant.
Let's look now deeper at the numbers here. We're going to look at some 2018 numbers, current numbers, compare them to how the president did back in 2016. If you see right now on the generic House ballot, the Democrats are up 25 points among women. They won women in 2016, but only by 13. White without a college degree, plus 11 for Republicans, but it was plus 37 for President Trump. Independents, plus 17 for Democrats right now. President Trump carried independents by 4, plus 4. So you have the midterms are always different. It's not a presidential year, but if you're Republicans looking at the fundamentals, especially women independents, you're worried.
Yeah, and I think it's true that he can exist for a while on base support, but what Trump is doing to a large extent in some of these exurban and suburban areas is taking white college-educated women who were occasionally, if not reliably, GOP voters and turning them into at least swing voters, if not Democratic voters. Now, we don't know how they'll behave in a midterm election, if they'll come out at all, if they'll sit at home, but if they don't come out, and they used to come out, then that's a problem for the GOP. The other issue, I think, for Trump is that we haven't seen his power transfer to other candidates unless they are very aligned with the Trump style, and being very aligned with the Trump style is not helpful in a toss-up district where you need to be a little bit more subtle.
And yet, listen to the president here talking on the radio with Sean Hannity. A lot of Republicans want the president to be quiet or to talk just about the economy Don't tweet about things. Don't attack the special counsel. Don't travel all that much. Just go to the deep red places. But the president says, I'm ready to help.
You know, the famous quote, it's the economy, stupid. Well, if it's the economy, then we should do very well. I just don't know any reason why we shouldn't do well. The economy is the strongest ever.